Okay, cool. We're recording. So does anyone want to go first?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
Yeah. So I know I'm not the only person that's ever peed their pants. And I'm hoping that I'm not the only person that's ever peed on their pants. When I was about 12 years old, my family was building a house in a new area, a new neighborhood, and I'd never been there before, so we went to go and look at the progress of the house. When we showed up, there was nothing there. You know, it was a foundation, a couple bushes, a couple trees. And I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. So I sneak off around the corner to go and hide in some of the bushes, and all of the neighbors show up, talking with my mom and my dad and my siblings. And I'm over there facing away from them, doing my business. And somebody goes, hey, what you doing over there? You know, and messing with me. And so I, being 11, 12 years old, decide, you know what, I'm going to give the illusion that I'm not doing what I'm doing. So I put my hands on my hips and I start walking around facing the other way, which wasn't a good idea for a 12-year-old, right? And when I walked back over to the group, my light blue jeans had been very dark blue. And, you know, I grew up in that neighborhood for the next 14 years. So everybody knew what had happened. Not only did they know what I was doing, but they saw the evidence of it. I learned from that, though, that even if I think I'm doing something wrong or I'm doing something silly, I need to own up to it rather than trying to fix it and making things worse. So that's my story.
Nice. Nice, well done.
Yeah, nice work.
So I guess I would say, I don't know. Do you want to go, Chris? I don't want to take your truths or any or your strengths or anything.
Oh, well, I think one thing you did well. I'm not muted, am I? Oh, no.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, yeah, I think one thing you did well was you had voice inflection. So like it was far from monotone, which is, I think, far too many speakers kind of fall into that trap. So I enjoyed how you changed your voice and the pitch and the pace and everything to kind of move through the story and to emphasize different like moments more than others. So I thought that was really strong.
Yeah, I thought also the pacing, the pausing kind of for effect was really strong. You know, pausing on basically on your laugh lines was well done.
Yeah, that's a good point. Timing is probably crucial.
Yeah, I also thought your introductory, you know, can't capture the attention of the audience better than you did. Yeah, definitely that was another strength.
Yep.
What do I need to improve on?
I mean, one thing, it's hard to say because we're all in a seated position. But I wonder, how like standing your delivery might have been using like hand gestures and things like that. Because I think you could definitely make that like a comical storytelling if you like get your body into it more. But you were restricted, I guess, by how we're presenting right now. But I could see that being like you could move around well to like really to engage the audience and make it even like more of a comical story.
I mean, I think I'm probably going to. I recognize this as my weakness, and I think it's a lot of people's. Where just, you know, with the pacing was really well done, but occasionally, like the word flow was very quick because I think it's hard to not go quickly, especially when, you know, you're aware of a time limit and, you know, you're you know, kind of getting to the next part of the story. But that was really, I think, the only thing I thought that was maybe an area of improvement.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, definitely. I can go, or you want to go, Chris, or I can go next?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Not everyone gets a chance to work with their dad at a job, and not everyone gets a chance to work with their dad at a kind of odd job. But fortunately, I got to do both, and it gave me one of my favorite sort of funny stories. So background, my father was a sort of stereotypical Mississippi gregarious redneck who just was friends with everybody. And we both worked while I was in college at Salt Lake Behavioral Health. And he was a chef, and I worked as maintenance. At that job, because we worked with people who had been sent there by the court to recover from like drunken disorderly, things like that, people who are not there voluntarily. We had a code red function where, a patient was acting violently or in a way that would harm themselves or others. All of the nursing staff who had a very specific type of training that would allow them to subdue the patient without hurting themselves or the patient were supposed to move towards the code red. And everyone like me who did not have that training was supposed to move as far away from it as possible and get through as many secure doors as possible. So one day I was in the kitchen where my dad worked, and we were both sort of on a break, and a code red sounded. And an upper management person came back into the kitchen. They said, "Hey, Eric, John, we need you to come out and help with this code red." And we said, "No, we don't. We are not trained to do that. We absolutely should not be doing that." And they said, "Well, what we want is like big guys to kind of stand in a line as this guy comes in, just sort of as like a physical wall to keep him in the route we want him to go. And that's all we need you to do. So you won't have to do anything." So we go out because this is our boss, and we're standing there, and my dad is at the front of the line. And this guy comes in, and we recognize him because I think this is the third time the court has sent him to our facility involuntarily to recover from various substance problems. And the man walks in, and my dad says, "Hi." And the guy knows my dad, and he says, "Hi." And then as he's walking by, my dad says, "How's it going?" And the guy stops and looks, and you can see the wheels in his head turning of, is this guy this much of a jerk that I have to now do something to him because he has said something this sort of stupid? Or is he really just that tone deaf in this situation? And fortunately, it only took him a few seconds to realize he's just that tone deaf. And he looked my dad dead in the eye, and he said, "I've had better days, Eric." And then he kept going. And so that was one of my favorite moments of my dad, because he was sort of the person who can be friends with anyone. But also, having a sense of context is very important in any relationship, much less sort of a fraught one like
that. That's funny, because when you said that, I thought the same thing. Like, well, where are you going with this? What's wrong with saying how's it going? It's like, oh, duh. So,
right.
I probably put my foot in my mouth far too many times.
Right. I don't have to.
That was both of you guys, I feel like, had really good like conversation, like tones that it just flowed really well. It wasn't like, for both of you, it wasn't like you were doing an assignment. It felt like you were just telling a story, which I'm sure was how it should come off. It came off really natural.
Nice. Thanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one thing that stood out for me is, I know it had mentioned that my problems wasn't as, my hands as much, but I was watching you in that one, and I was like, wow, you did speak with your hands, but it didn't seem unnatural.
Good.
It added to the excitement of the story, and it was very engaging. And it was, I felt kind of stressed out as you were going through the story.
Great.
Shoot, what's going on with this? So no, that was good.
Well, great. Awesome.
Yeah. Well done.
Awesome. And any areas of improvement?
I'm trying to think. This is not my forte, so I'm not super good at, I think, being critical of others in this, in public speaking.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I think the only thing for me was it was kind of similar to what you said about mine, was the pacing of the story, just keeping that consistent. I think it was well versed though, but I think if there's anything to pick at, I think that can be improved on for you and for me, for everybody. So
right, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be guilty of the same thing here in a few seconds.
Right. Well, thanks. Great.
Yeah, well done.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I guess I'm going to try to take a different tone for this one. We'll see how it goes. So when I was a freshman in college, for whatever reason, a bunch of people in my dorm were obsessed with ghost hunting. As cool as I think it would be for things like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, alien abductions, and ghosts to exist, I never really believed in any supernatural phenomena. Nonetheless, when a big group was going on a ghost hunting trip to a local cemetery one day, I decided to tag along. The drive and the build-up to the ghost hunt was just goofy fun. I mean, it was almost like the whole ghost hunting was just an excuse for college students to go hang out and not take the world too seriously. But then when we got there, the atmosphere tensed up, kind of like a classroom before a big exam. And so even back then, I was aware how one's expectations and confirmation bias could sway one to believe something that was simply not true. And based on how
Uh-oh.
I just never expected that I would be the one saying that. So let me explain. Sorry, it says internet connection unstable. I hope I'm still here. But
We lost you for a second, but you are back.
Okay. Well, I'll go back a second. So I was fully prepared for someone to say, I saw a ghost, I swear. So I just never thought it would be me who was the one saying it. So to explain, when we arrived at the cemetery, there's 3 carfuls of us, and we got out, we began walking through the cemetery somewhat in a straight line. And for the first several minutes, it was uneventful. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely something creepy about a group of college students in a cemetery at night. I'm sure that's in a number of horror movies. But I felt it was more likely we'd be attacked by a serial killer than actually see a ghost. And that's when I heard something that sounded like a voice on the breeze saying a long, drawn-out leave, like, leave. So I stopped dead in my tracks, as do 3 to 4 other people in the group at various points in this line. And I don't recall what I felt in the moment. I just knew that I was going to get the heck out of there. So I went back to the parking lot, as did a few other people. And we were shocked that we all heard the same thing. And so to this day, I still don't believe in the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, or other supernatural phenomena. And I'm really not prepared to even say ghosts are real. Though the one thing I do know is I'm not going to go walk through cemeteries at night anymore.
Awesome.
Nice.
Sorry, I had to go upstairs because my kids are sleeping downstairs. So hopefully my internet was stable enough to get me through.
Yeah, no, it just kicked out the one time. Yeah, so
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
you were good.
Cool.
That was awesome. I wanna mention one strength that really got me thinking, and it was good. It was, you mentioned, the movies and stuff, and immediately my mind went back to seeing some of the horror movies that I'd seen. So that was a good. I liked that reference that you put in there because it was easy to place what you were talking about. So that was a good. I don't know what you would call that. It wasn't a metaphor or anything, but it was a good visual for your audience. So
Cool.
Yeah, the I don't know if you wrote this, but that sentence leading up to the voice on the breeze was, if it wasn't good writing, it was good speaking. But that was, with the sound on the breeze, and there was kind of a turn of phrase right before that, and so the leave landed really well even before you did the voice. And admittedly, I like ghost things, so I may be more susceptible, but I got like a little like ooh with that one. So it was effective, at least for me. So
Yeah, it's a true story. That's just how I described it every time I hear. That's just how I would describe it.
Nice, great.
Any suggestions for change or opportunities, as she calls it?
I think my one is the same thing you gave to me, is just, being a little more visual with your hands. And obviously we're in a difficult position, but no, I think you did well. I think you did good. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, this honestly isn't, I wouldn't necessarily even say something that was missing from what yours, but something that I guess would be like an area that would be just sort of more fun in the telling to some degree, would be the scene setting. Like how you'd compared it to the teens in the horror movies, and the kind of taking us there of, what you were looking and seeing, but again, I didn't feel like that was lacking in the story, but just like that would be a fun kind of extra element, I guess, to the story.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we waited for Callie to show up, so.
Well, I'm sure we'll do this again, right?
Right, yeah.
Yep, I think so. So yeah, so awesome, guys. So nice, quick. So I'll go ahead and hit stop recording.